Welcome to Money and Purpose, Conversations on Intentional Wealth. I'm your host, Marianne Poon, CFA charter holder and founder of Onyx Financial in Bethesda, Maryland. Today, I'm joined by Buddy Griffiths, Chief Compliance Officer at XY Investment Solutions. Buddy oversees compliance for hundreds of independent advisors across the country, including me. He is here to pull back the curtain on the infrastructure that makes independent financial planning possible. Welcome, Buddy.
Hello, happy to be here.
Hello, great to have you. So can you tell us, what is XY Investment Solution? What is their role to the client, and what does your oversight mean?
The XY Planning Network is a sort of looser affiliation of financial advisors who care about planning and, when it started especially, providing it to Gen X and Gen Y. It's expanded beyond that. And because of that network, we had a number of advisors who wanted some additional support and help with running a financial planning practice, but didn't want to start their own firm. So the XY Planning Network started to really provide resources and support advisors starting their own firms. But as time went on, we had advisors who they just didn't want to deal with the complexities of that, or they wanted to be SEC registered so they didn't have to deal with state jurisdictional registrations. Or, thankfully for me, they just didn't want to have to deal with the nuances and weird problems of compliance. So XY Investment Solutions, XYPN Invest, we exist to serve as a corporate RIA for advisors who want to join with us. And we take care of some of the logistical stuff that lots of advisors just want to deal with, providing advice to their clients. And so we take on the compliance burden as well as some of the custodial relationships, the trading for advisors so that they can focus on that. And my role is to deal with regulators, so make sure that we have the right filings in place and are up to date, make sure that advisors have the support and resources and training they need to stay compliant, and to serve as that additional layer of documentation and backstop so that we have things in place that there are basic standards that are met. Advisors work with clients differently, and we want to make sure that that's consistent and appropriate, and that we have those records in place if the SEC comes knocking to say, yep, we know they're doing a good job, and here's why we know.
You're like our bumper rails, basically, bumper guards.
Yeah.
So how is working with an independent advisor through XY Planning different from like a big brokerage or wirehouse?
When I started in the industry, I was a bit naive, and I started with a traditional wirehouse role. And I was pretty quickly disenchanted with what financial planning, or what I thought financial planning was, turned out to be. And one of the big differences of that wirehouse model versus an independent RIA, in this case, XYPN advisors joining with a corporate RIA to take on some of those responsibilities, is the fiduciary aspect. So a registered investment advisor is required to be a fiduciary. And by that, the technical definition is to do what is in the client's best interest. And that differs from someone who's a broker-dealer or has a broker-dealer relationship, because the broker-dealer standard is a lower standard. And that standard is that it just has to be suitable for someone. The standard isn't that it even has to be suitable for the person you're giving the advice to. It just has to be suitable for someone in the world. That RIA fiduciary standard aspect is huge. And that means that if people are doing it right, they're making sure that even if they have conflicts, they're trying to reduce them as much as possible and only provide that advice that is what is best for the client.
Right.
And that's big. For us as a firm, that's also with the XY Planning Network tie-in. We already have this default affinity for people who in the industry know us, of being the people who care about doing real financial planning well. So if you end up coming to us to want to work under our RIA with your own independent brand, that means that you already probably care about doing the right thing for the client. And so we do an interview process, make sure that we're a good fit for one another and we can properly support you. And it's as much a interview of you to make sure that you actually care about doing good work as it is that we're going to do good work for you so that you can continue working with clients how you want to. And that's what we care about and we want to do for as many advisors as who need us.
Right. I think it's great that I can look at a client's comprehensive picture. I can look at every single account they own, whether or not I am managing their money or not. I can look at their insurance policies. I can look at their estate plans. Whereas I know some of the bigger brokerages like Vanguard, Fidelity, they won't even, if a client says, "Oh, can you help me look at my 529?" They'll be like, "No, I don't manage it. Sorry."
Yeah. Yeah. Being able to choose what you do for a client with any sort of solution, and that can be only planning. We have a number of advisors that that's all they do. It's like, nope, I just give you advice on what to do. I don't even touch your money. I just tell you the best thing to do with it, and you can use whoever you want. And there are other advisors who package it all together. They want to take that burden off the client. The client doesn't want to have to deal with the trades or allocation. And so they manage all of that as part of that overall plan. And that the plan part is where a lot of other firms really fall down because they only focus on just assets to manage and getting
Right.
money from that versus being able to have people pay for the advice.
Right. Which is nice. I can kind of like customize the fees that I charge people. Sometimes it is asset under management. Sometimes it's a fixed fee. Sometimes it's an hourly fee. So, yeah, can you talk a little bit about fees and the transparencies and how you guys work with the agreements?
Yeah, yeah. That also ties back to the broker dealer versus RIA. So if you're advisory only and fee only, that means that you can't get charged for the transactions that take place. People got paid for the transaction, and that's very different than paying someone for the advice. Being able to say, here is the fee that I'm going to charge, and you can do it over here, you can do it over here. Here's what all of those look like. And I'm only going to get paid this fee that I specifically tell you is what I'm going to be paid. And that's
Right.
it. From our perspective, we also allow a lot of flexibility that a lot of advisors don't have. Of some firms will only allow you to do financial planning if you have a certain level of assets under management that's what you're charging for. But we purposefully allow that flexibility that the traditional way of charging for assets under management is how a lot of people are used to it. And if that's what you as a client want and that's what the advisor wants to do, we want to be able to accommodate that because it is the most common. But what if all you really care about is getting that advice for those RSUs? I want to plan just for that. We can do just that and not be tied up for decades of work, but solve a particular problem and
Right.
everything in between.
Right. For sure. I have some clients who are hesitant about going digital.
Mm.
So, are they right to be hesitant, or how are they protected? What are the advantages of going
Yeah.
digital?
Yeah, and it runs the gamut from the octogenarians who I understand they didn't grow up with technology to now young people are appropriately critical of technology too. Like technology isn't going to save everything. But I like to use this as a story to illustrate the example. I have a friend who she was always tied to doing business in person. She held off for the longest time of even getting a online access to her bank account. And that's something that I in compliance have to work with people a lot. Like you have worries about, is someone going to be able to see this? Who's going to be able to see this? I keep seeing all these things in the news about identity theft. Yeah, that it is something that you should be actively concerned about and cognizant of so that you can plan and prepare appropriately. But ultimately what convinced her was I scared her a little bit, but an appropriate scare. It was a loving scare. And that's yes, she didn't want to have that online access to her account because she didn't like that. She wanted to go in and see the teller in person. But the bank is still operating that way. They're still operating digitally. And because she didn't have an account set up, that means someone else pretending to be her could get one set up, and then she wouldn't even know.
Right.
So that's one part of it of if you are the one who's setting it up, you at least have control there and you don't have that same opportunity for a bad actor to swoop in and take that for you. And the second aspect is there are often trade-offs with every way of securing things. You secure your door with a lock, and if someone knows how to pick locks, they can get in. Well, what if you use like one of those thumb scanner locks or something? Like, well, those have different vulnerabilities, but they don't have the same vulnerabilities as a lock does. And a lot of that is the trade-offs. There's more and more focus on the digital side of security right now, where you can have things like multi-factor authentication, where anyone tries to open an account or do a transaction, you get a notification on your phone so you can know right away, wait, I didn't do this. I now know that I can contact someone to get this to stop because it wasn't me. And you don't have that same ability for manual transactions that are in person or not digital. So there's always trade-offs, there's always worries, but
Right.
there are a lot more tools now on the digital side that can help protect.
Right. Have you seen any instances of fraud or identity theft with all the thousands and hundreds and thousands and millions of clients that you service?
Thankfully, at XYPN, it actually hasn't happened to us.
That's amazing.
I mean, it is, and that's what we wanna keep it. And
Yes.
we have insurance in place, we have systems in place for being able to recover for if that does happen.
Right. I mean, I got an email last week from you saying, or I guess a client had inadvertently sent me their password and I had
Yeah,
to
well,
contact them to change it. And I hadn't, I just kind of skimmed it saying, okay, I should not have that information. I just
yeah.
set it aside. And you sent me an email saying you need to fix this and
Oh,
do
right,
something about it. So,
and that's one of the things that the compliance level of oversight does, that if you're just on your own, you probably don't have that support. Like, no, we are doing those extra scans and looking at things because sure, you didn't use that login information, but what happens if the client was accessing the internet from a hotel and public Wi-Fi, or was using a public computer and logged in and forgot to log out? That means anyone who goes into that client's email would see login information that was sensitive. By being able to have that extra layer of being able to reach out of like, hey, make sure you contact your client to tell them that they need to change their their password because someone could get access to that.
and sometimes I have to help clients get into their own accounts, with all these
Right.
multi-factor
Yeah.
authentications. They're like, I can't get in.
Like,
Well,
oh
you
no,
need to
it
have
should
this
be on your
device near
phone
you.
now.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's pretty secure. So when something goes wrong, there's trading errors, things like that. What happens behind the scenes? And do you have to deal with things like that?
Yes. Yes. And trading errors can happen without there even really being a mistake, in the sense of technological systems operate in a very specific way, and you can put in the right input and the system can twist something. But this didn't happen at XYPN, thankfully, but it was when it happened. I was the director of an investment department. The way that our models were built, a transaction ended up happening that all of the model portfolios sold out of a position and then bought back into the same position because of how the system recognized it. Now, for that situation, by and large, for the average person, non-taxable account, no impact at all. It was the same position, they had the same amount of shares, there was no difference. But if you were in a taxable account, that creates a wash sale, and you have a tax situation if there was a gain in that position. And this was recognized right away on our side of, oh, this happened. We have to get all of these accounts corrected. And so we started working with the custodian, we started running calculations and communicating with E&O insurance and getting this in system. And it ended up being an error on the part of, at that time, that custodian's system. So it didn't end up costing the firm anything either, but all of the clients were made whole within a couple of days. That sort of issue is something that takes a lot of coordination and making the client whole and sometimes involving errors and omissions insurance. That's why we have it. You want to have that sort of backstop in case there's a problem, because as perfect as you can possibly be, there can still be an error in a communication. And we're in the business of making sure clients are protected. And so
Mhm.
we have these extra layers and protections and systems in place to be able to do that so that clients are always made whole.
Right. Yes. So, one thing is most people have heard of the CFP, but not many people know what the CFA charter holder is. So, I was very encouraged that, XYPN accepted my credentials. And so, can you just tell us why you guys accept a broader set of credentials and
Yeah,
what the difference is?
yeah, certainly. And I have amassed a number of credentials myself
Yes,
over
you have
time. I'm kind of a credential nerd.
you have so many designations. There's not enough room for them on a business card.
I'm gonna start putting them on the back of the business card. It's safer that way. Uh, but a lot of this is with regards to what financial planning is, what serving the client well looks like. And the CFP is an amazing designation and is great. And so some firms will very purposefully say, if you're going to do financial planning, it's CFP or nothing. Like that's it,
Right.
only option. I have always been a big admirer of CFA charter holders. The CFA charter within the financial industry is considered like the premier investment designation to be a charter holder, to have
Right.
the rights to use the charter. But with that, like the CFA designation is really deeply involved in understanding uh, the time value of money and compounding and analyzing investments. And if you are wondering, should I have this money in a CD that my bank is offering, or should I just put it in my investment account, or should I put it in a high yield savings account, or any number of other things? You want that really detailed analysis of what your money would be worth in these different venues and what that looks like. And that's something that the CFA charter really trains people to do. And if you only cared about having the CFP designation, you'd miss out on a whole lot of benefit from advisors and from serving clients' needs
Right.
that you wouldn't get otherwise.
I feel like it does a good job with like risk management also and ethics and
Yes. Yeah. The ethics component of
the
the
ethics.
CFA charter is often one that is complained about as being one of the most difficult parts of getting your
Yes.
charter.
Right. Um yeah, so where do you think the independent advisory space is heading and what makes XYPN stand out from the other platforms?
It's been good overall that the industry as a whole has started moving more and more towards advice and fiduciary practices. The days of, well, like the movie Wall Street or Wolf of Wall Street or Boiler Room, or pick those really disturbing movies when you think about it, if it's
Yes.
your life savings on the line, is becoming less and less common. And that's good. That's very good objectively. Though they still definitely have their place of like you still need trades placed and you need companies to be able to go public, but that isn't the focus of the average person anymore. And that's very beneficial. And I think we had the initial wave of the people leaving those brokerage firms and starting their own firms with sort of the origin of XYPN as a network too. Like that was the time of like it was big and new and exciting. And now we have a lot of people who have established those and they're looking at retiring. Or there are people who have grown up in the environment where maybe an RIA is their first choice. And I think now we have that like hybrid model of support of I still want to do a specific type of business and cater to a particular niche.
Right.
But I don't want a lot of the complexities of doing all of this other stuff on my own. There's definitely still the person who all they want to do is they want to be 100% on their own. They want to control everything and do every detail. There's the other side that there's still going to be people who are like, nope, I want to go work for Schwab and get my W-2. But if you want to tailor it down to a particular kind of person and helping them, or you have a special analysis that you developed that is the best way to look at saving for college, or is the best way to figure out if you should sell your business to your family members, the average run-of-the-mill firm isn't going to be able to support that.
Right.
And if you want to start your own firm and deal with that headache, sure, you could do that. But if you don't, there aren't too many options of
Right.
great places to go.
Yes.
That's I think where we're at and
I mean, I
how we help
love that.
people.
Right. I love that I have like a full service compliance team behind me, and I don't have to worry about things, and if anything gets messed up, you guys all fix it and I don't even have to worry about it. But that way I can really serve people and their unique needs, and you guys are really good at supporting that. So, I love that.
We can hire the specialists to do those particular roles
Right.
so that you don't have to, as a financial advisor, be an expert in them. You could be an expert at financial advising.
Yes. Wonderful. Buddy, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your
Yeah.
insights. It's a pleasure having you.
Mm.
To our listeners, if you want help making your money work more efficiently and with greater purpose, I would love to connect. You can reach me, Marianne Poon, at marianne@onyxfn.com. This has been Money and Purpose, Conversations on Intentional Wealth. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to helping you bring more clarity, confidence, and purpose to your financial life.